She touched my arm like she'd done it 1,000 times before, soft, familiar, almost loving. But there was something in her eyes that night, something I hadn't seen before. A flicker. A shadow. A secret she tried to bury beneath a smile that felt too warm to question. And yet, I did. Because when someone swears they love you, their gaze shouldn't tremble the moment you look back. Her perfume lingered in the small space between us, sweet but edged with something sharp, like the truth slipping through cracks she hoped I wouldn't notice. She leaned in, close enough that her breath brushed my jaw, close enough that my heart forgot how to beat. The kind of closeness that made every warning in my body go silent, while every desire roared awake. I wanted to believe her, believe the softness in her voice, the warmth of her hands, the way she said my name like it was something she wanted to keep. But the night held its own tension. A hesitation in her touch. A question in her smile. And underneath everything, a quiet pull between us, magnetic and dangerous. Like attraction built on borrowed time. I didn't know who she really was, not yet. All I knew was the way she made me feel, the way she drew me in, the way she kissed the air near my cheek but didn't let her lips touch. A promise half made. A truth half told. And me, standing there, trying to decode a woman who felt both real and unreal, like a dream I shouldn't trust. Maybe that's why I didn't pull away. Maybe that's why her hand stayed on my chest, her thumb tracing a slow circle as if she knew exactly how to silence my doubts. Maybe that's why I didn't see the truth sooner, because love, or something dangerously close to it, makes fools of the ones who believe. But just as her lips parted to say something I think she feared as much as I did, a sound tore through the moment. A message. A name. A truth not meant for me to hear. And in an instant, everything I thought I knew about her began to crumble. The sound that broke between us still echoed faintly in the room, but neither of us moved. Her hand slipped away from my chest with a slow hesitation, as if letting go cost her something. She tried to hide it, the way her breath caught, the way her eyes dropped to the floor before rising to meet mine again, but I felt it. The shift. The tension. The truth trembling under her skin. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She nodded, but it wasn't convincing. Not even close. Her voice failed her, so she relied on silence, the kind that said more than any lie or confession ever could. When she finally stepped back, it was only by an inch. Barely enough to break the pull between us. "That name," I whispered. "You reacted." She swallowed, her throat tightening, her lashes fluttering like she was trying to blink away a storm. "It's complicated." Complicated. The word wrapped around us like smoke, impossible to grasp, impossible to ignore. I took a step closer, slow enough to give her space to stop me. She didn't. Her breath quickened, and when she lifted her face, something raw flickered in her eyes. Something that felt like fear tangled with longing. "If you don't want me to ask," I murmured, "I won't." Her lips parted. A soft, almost broken exhale slipped out, brushing the air between us like a whisper. "It's not that I don't want you to ask," she said. "It's that I don't know how to answer." The honesty hit harder than any secret. She turned her face away for a moment, her hair falling forward in a soft curtain. When I reached up to tuck the strand behind her ear, she didn't stop me. Her skin warmed under my fingertips, and her eyes fluttered closed, only for a second, but enough to feel like a confession. "You make things confusing," she whispered. "Confusing," I echoed, my voice low. "Or honest?" Her eyes opened slowly, and the truth in them was almost too much. A quiet ache. A quiet want. A quiet war she was losing. When she didn't speak, I moved closer. So close the air between us changed, thickened, grew warm. Her hand lifted slightly, not quite touching me, but hovering near my chest like she wanted to feel my heartbeat again. "I shouldn't let you close," she said. "Then stop me." Her breath trembled. Her hand didn't. And in that fragile, heated pause, the kind that stretches time and turns silence into something intimate, we both knew neither of us was stepping away. Not yet. Not now. Not when everything inside us was leaning in. She drew in a shaky breath, the kind that sounded like she'd been holding it for far too long. The air between us felt charged again, warm, slow, and heavy with everything neither of us dared to name. She stepped back, but only half a step, like her body couldn't fully commit to the distance her mind thought she needed. "I don't want to hurt you," she murmured. Her voice was soft, fragile, almost afraid of its own honesty. "You won't," I said. Her eyes lifted, and the look she gave me wasn't disbelief, it was longing wrapped in warning. The kind that said she wished my words were true, but she knew something I didn't. Something that built the invisible wall she kept trying, and failing, to stand behind. "You don't know what you're saying," she whispered. I moved closer again, not touching her, but letting the space shrink until the heat between our bodies felt like a quiet confession. "Then tell me what I don't know." Her jaw tightened. A small crack in her perfect composure. "I can't," she said. But her voice betrayed her, it wavered, thinned, softened. "If I tell you, everything changes." "Maybe it's already changing," I replied. Her lips parted, and for a heartbeat she looked like she might step into me instead of away. Her fingertips lifted, unintentionally, unconsciously, brushing the edge of my sleeve. Barely a touch, but it sent a quiet shock through both of us. She felt it. I saw the way her breath caught. Then she pulled her hand back sharply, like the contact burned her. "Don't do that," she whispered. "Do what?" "Look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you see who I am." "You don't." Her voice trembled. "You see who you want me to be." I shook my head. "I see someone who's terrified of letting me close." She shut her eyes at that, her lashes trembling. "Because I am." The honesty hit between us like a warm, devastating wave. Her hand rose again, slowly, hesitantly. She didn't touch me this time, just hovered her palm near my cheek, close enough that I felt the warmth radiating from her skin. Close enough to make my pulse stumble. She wanted to touch me. She wanted the closeness, the comfort, the danger of it. But wanting was the very thing that scared her. "I shouldn't want this," she whispered, voice nearly breaking. "But I do." "Then why pull away?" Her eyes opened, deep, conflicted, shining with emotions she couldn't hide. "Because if I don't," her breath trembled, "I won't be able to stop." The words settled between us like a promise either of us was ready, or willing, to break. Her words hung in the air, trembling between us like something alive. For a moment, neither of us breathed. Neither of us dared to move. The room felt smaller, warmer, as if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. I stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that the heat of her body grazed mine like a quiet invitation. She didn't step back this time. Her pulse fluttered at the base of her throat, and her lips parted in a soft, shaky exhale that felt like a surrender she didn't mean to give. "Look at me," I whispered. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. And whatever she'd been trying to hide, cracked. Her eyes softened, widened, filled with something intense enough to steal the ground from beneath us. Longing, fear, want, all tangled into one impossible expression. "You're going to ruin me," she breathed. "Maybe I already am." A tiny sound escaped her, not quite a laugh, not quite a sob, something caught between hope and danger. Her fingers moved again, rising carefully, hesitantly, like she was touching something fragile. This time, she didn't stop. Her fingertips brushed my jaw. Barely a touch. Soft. Trembling. But it shattered something inside both of us. Her breath hitched. Mine did too. She dragged her hand slowly, gently along the curve of my cheek, tracing a path like she'd memorized it in a dream she never admitted to having. Her palm settled there, warm, delicate, wanting. It felt like a confession. "Why does this feel like falling?" she whispered. "Because it is." Her eyes closed, her forehead dipping just slightly toward mine, close enough that our breaths mingled, warm and uneven. The air thickened, heavy with everything we'd been trying to ignore. She leaned in, just a fraction, enough that I felt the ghost of her lips near mine. A breath. A promise. A dangerous almost. Her fingers curled gently at the back of my neck, drawing me impossibly closer. Not touching. Not yet. But every inch of her body leaned toward me like gravity had chosen us and refused to let go. I shouldn't, she whispered, voice shaking. But you want to. Her lips brushed the edge of my jaw, not a kiss, but the idea of one. A soft, warm breath that stole reason, stole distance, stole everything except the need tightening between us. She froze there, trembling. I can't stop, she breathed into my skin. Neither could I. And just when the moment threatened to break open, when our lips hovered on the edge of something too real, too charged, she pulled in a sharp breath, her hand clutching my shirt like she needed it to stay standing. The moment didn't explode. But it burned. The first drop of rain touched the window like a soft tap, then another, until the whole night hummed with it, gentle, steady, a quiet rhythm that wrapped around the room like a heartbeat. She stood there, her back to me, her shoulders rising and falling with breaths that sounded too full, too fragile, too heavy with everything we hadn't said. When she turned, something in her had shifted. Not broken, opened. Her eyes met mine with a kind of trembling courage, like she was finally letting herself feel everything she tried so hard to bury. I'm tired of running from this, she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. I moved closer, slow enough to give her room to change her mind. She didn't. She stepped into me instead, gently, almost like her body decided before her thoughts could interfere. Her forehead rested against mine, warm and soft, her breath brushing my lips with a tenderness that curled my pulse into something fierce. Rain echoed around us, a quiet symphony. Her hands lifted to my chest, fingertips drawing slow, nervous paths through the fabric like she was memorizing me. When I covered her hands with mine, she inhaled sharply, as if the contact melted something inside her. She leaned in, her nose brushing mine, her breath trembling into my mouth. The moment felt fragile. Sacred. Too intense for words. You feel like home, she whispered. My throat tightened. So do you. Her lashes fluttered, and then her lips met mine, not hungrily, not wildly, but softly, like she was confessing something she couldn't speak. The kiss warmed slowly, growing deeper, fuller, her breath melting into mine until we were breathing for each other. Her fingers slid up my neck, into my hair, pulling me closer with a kind of desperate tenderness that shook something loose inside me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't reckless. It was slow, warm, and unbearably intimate. We moved together through the room, guided not by urgency but by something quieter, need, affection, the ache of wanting someone you've tried too long to resist. The soft glow of the lamp painted her skin in gold, highlighting the curve of her jaw, the trembling of her lips as she kissed me again, deeper this time. Her body pressed against mine, not with force, but with trust. With surrender. Her breath hitched when my hands slid around her waist, lifting the edges of her shirt just enough for my fingertips to graze the warmth of her skin. She shivered, not from cold, but from the kind of closeness that speaks louder than words. She leaned into my touch like she'd been waiting for it, like every piece of her was finally allowed to want me back. Don't let go, she murmured against my mouth. I couldn't if I tried. She guided my hand to her heartbeat. Fast. Unsteady. Matching mine. The rain softened, the light dimmed, and everything in the room felt like it was holding its breath as she kissed me again, longer, deeper, her body melting into mine with a tenderness that felt hotter than anything raw. No hurry. No fear. Just two people finally allowing themselves to feel everything. Her lips trailed down my jaw, soft and slow, her breath warm against my skin. My hand slid up her back, pulling her closer until our bodies aligned, fitting together like a truth we'd both been afraid to speak. Their bodies spoke the words they couldn't say. And the night, quiet, warm, rhythmic, held their secret gently. Morning arrived quietly, the kind of soft, pale light that slips into a room without asking permission. It touched her first, the curve of her shoulder, the gentle rise of her breath, and then it found me, sitting at the edge of the bed, unable to decide whether the night before felt like a beginning, or a line we'd crossed without thinking. She stirred behind me, a slow inhale, a quiet shifting of sheets. For a moment I kept my eyes forward, afraid of what I'd see if I turned. Afraid of what I wouldn't. "Hey!" she whispered, voice still thick with sleep. The sound, soft, warm, familiar, almost undid me. I turned. She was propped on one elbow, hair falling across her cheek, eyes still heavy but searching mine with something fragile. Not regret. Not quite certainty either. Something in between, the space where fear and tenderness meet. "Last night," she began, then stopped, as if the words were too sharp to touch. "You don't have to explain," I said. "But I should." She pushed herself up slowly, pulling her knees close, her arms wrapping around them as though she needed the barrier. "I wasn't supposed to let it happen. Any of it. Do you regret it?" The question came out quieter than I meant. Her eyes softened. "No. That's the problem." The air shifted, a mix of relief and something heavier. She reached out, fingertips brushing my hand, then curling back as if she wasn't sure she had the right anymore. I took her hand anyway. Her breath caught, but she didn't pull away. "It wasn't just a moment," I said. "Not for me." A shadow crossed her eyes. "Not doubt, worry. It wasn't for me either," she admitted. "But this changes everything." Before I could ask what everything meant, a sharp knock echoed through the apartment. She froze. Her entire body tensed in an instant, breath held, shoulders stiff, eyes wide. Fear. Real, immediate fear. "Don't answer it," she whispered, her voice barely audible. My heartbeat quickened. "Who is it?" She shook her head, silent, terrified in a way I hadn't seen before, not even last night, not even when she confessed the truth of her feelings. The knock came again. Harder. Her fingers slipped into mine, gripping tight. "Please," she whispered. "Stay quiet." And in that single, trembling moment, I knew something wasn't over. Something had just begun. The knocking stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving a silence so sharp it felt like it could cut. She didn't move. Neither did I. Her fingers stayed locked around mine, tense at first, then loosening just slightly as the quiet stretched on. When she finally exhaled, it was shaky, like she'd been holding her breath for years, not minutes. "It's over," she whispered, but even she didn't sound convinced. I turned toward her fully. "Who was it?" She shook her head, eyes shimmering with unshed truth. "Someone from the life I should have walked away from sooner. Someone who reminded me who I used to be, and who I don't want to be anymore." The confession lingered in the space between us, soft as dust in sunlight. She looked smaller then, not weak, but human. Vulnerable in a way she'd never allowed herself to be. "I'm not that person anymore," she said. "And last night, I think it was the first time I felt like I wasn't." I reached for her slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. I brushed my thumb along her cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't noticed slipping free. She leaned into my touch with a quiet sigh that sounded like surrender, gentle, exhausted, hopeful. "You don't know me your past," I said softly. "Only your truth." Her eyes lifted to mine, shining with a tenderness that made my chest tighten. "My truth," she whispered, "is that I do love you. I just didn't know if I deserved to." I pulled her into me then, carefully, as if she were made of something precious. Her forehead rested against my chest, her breath warmed through the thin fabric. I pressed a slow kiss to the top of her head, holding it there, letting the moment settle in deep. "You deserve peace," I whispered. "And if you stay, if you choose this, I'll help you find it." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she wrapped her arms around my waist, holding me with a kind of fragile strength that spoke louder than words. When she finally tilted her face up, her lips met mine in a soft, lingering kiss, one that wasn't desperate this time, but full of promise. When we parted, she smiled. Small. Real. "I'm done running," she said. so we chose the quiet. The peace. The slow healing that comes after chaos. And though her past still lingered like a fading shadow, her love, shaken, imperfect, brave, felt like something we could build a future on. Maybe she'd sworn she loved me before. But this time, she meant it.